Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fully Managed by Penji podcast, the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you in your business journey. I'm your host, Oliver, Penji's partnership advisor, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Sorilbran Stone. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you know what? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. We're having a sunny day outside, and today is the perfect day to tell you about this game that I like to do before we dive into your marketing works. I
Okay.
call this game Pitch Me This, and you will have 30 seconds to pitch me a business idea around a prompt I give you. Are you ready?
Um, Good grief. Yes, I'm ready.
All right, the prompt for today is an app that every Friday tells you the trend that you just missed. Go.
Okay, so if you have ever had the privilege of working with a personal trainer, you know that
Yep.
sometimes it's a little joy and a little bit of pain. Well, this app
Yeah.
is the digital equivalent of that. So trend jacking is one of those things that's really important for marketing, but
Yep.
being in on top of the trends takes a lot of effort. So we're going to give you a little bit of motivation. Here's what's going to happen. Every Friday, we're going to send to your phone one trend relevant to your industry that you should have hopped on that you didn't because you spent too much time in Fortnite this week. How does that sound?
I'm
Do
actually
I
sold. That's one
do
of
I
the
have a
best.
scale?
That's one of the best pitch sales that I've seen. To be honest, I want to make that app right now. It's like a FOMO
You
nightmare.
want to make it's a FOMO nightmare. It's like
Just
every
a
Saturday
FOMO
you're just
nightmare.
having bad dreams. Like,
And then you see the trend. It has like I don't know, 2 million tweets and things like that. But you missed it. You missed it.
right, exactly. So close to going
So
viral.
well, with the creativity juice is now flowing. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your marketing works?
Yes. Okay. So I'm Sorilbran Stone. I'm a visibility engineer. I know, like, it's like, what is a visibility engineer? I'm gonna get into that.
Yep.
So basically, I help high growth brands to drive pipeline with by teaching search and AI who they are, what they offer, and when to recommend them. That's the important part, when to recommend them. And then for high potential brands, basically the same strategy, but the goal is to increase your visibility. Visibility is like, I mean, most marketers are aware. Anybody on the brand side of things knows that visibility is super important. It precedes every sale. So that's what I do. I lead a consultancy out of Tech Town in Detroit called the Five Talent Strategy House. It's a new business. I'm really excited about it. I've been in marketing for 15 years, and before that, I was like de facto marketer for a couple of brick and mortar businesses that I had. So this is the first time I've had like a consultancy on my own. I'm really excited. It's like really cool stuff.
Yep. So me as a fellow marketer, I only been on the marketing world for about 7 years, and what you say is true. I hearing it everywhere. Visibility is something that's very crucial
Yeah.
to the marketing pipeline. So, like I told you before, I saw that you call yourself a visibility engineering, and
hmm
that's one of the most unique titles that we've seen here in our podcast. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So my most recent, I started in marketing as an SEO writer. And eventually it became, SEO writing, then was like content strategy. Then it was overseeing
Yep.
a team of other writers and video creators and stuff. And so at the, like, once AI came out, like, I've been using generative AI tools since 2019 because they were in the AppSumo market. We just didn't call them that, right?
Yep.
But once ChatGPT started to become the monster that it is right now, I was like, we have to figure out ways to be able to show up. Like, at the time, I was with the Shelf Influencer Marketing Agency. It's a great company, still my anchor client. I love the team and the culture there. And I was like, we have to figure out a way to kind of show up in these LLMs. And after spending like hundreds of hours talking to a machine. Like, I got to the point where I was like, I don't think I'm a content coordinator anymore. I'm something completely different. So what visibility engineer just made sense because a lot of my job has gone from creating content, like coming up with a strategy and like, proofreading stuff. A lot of that stuff now I've trained, like I have an AI assistant named Maverick. I've trained
Yeah.
Maverick and I've built, custom GPTs that can do that for me, or trained custom GPTs that can do that for me. So a lot of the heavy lifting as far as content creation is off my plate. It allows me to focus strictly on strategy, a holistic view of how your SEO and how your social, how paid, how they fit together, and then where LLMs fit in. And so it provides an opportunity. Being able to automate allows an opportunity to be able to see marketing holistically, because like I said, I came in as a writer, so I've spent years like just perfecting the art of messaging, trying to get B2B, B2B brands to buy from other B2B brands. But having access to AI tools, and now having like AI as my like my co-strategist, it enables me to be able to look at marketing more holistically, so that I can see where the pieces fit together and see, like, have a better understanding of how the levers move. Like when you change one thing, how it changes how your story shows up in LLMs versus how it changes where you show up in search versus how it changes how your ad dollars go. And you turn around and PMAX is eating more than it should, that kind of thing. So visibility engineer is just engineering visibility across channels to tell a very specific story about your brand, whether that's to undergird a campaign activation for a specific product, or a specific initiative that you guys have going on, or whether you're maybe a solo consultant or a solopreneur and you're trying to shape a story around your brand. All of that, just kind of every channel that we use as marketers, they each feed into one another. And the
Yep.
engineering part is just figuring out which levers to pull and how much and how frequently to tell the right story and get the right customers into your pipeline.
That's very interesting to hear. As a fellow marketer, I can relate to that. You can, there are many channels, there are many tools, and seeing how someone um, makes them work in a way that is just very fluid for the campaigns and for the
Yeah,
work of the clients is just amazing to see. You also mentioned that you started on SEO and now you're using AI as a tool.
yeah.
There's one thing that I've been hearing a lot about the guests that I have here that have experience with SEO, me
Mhm.
included in the marketing world, is that everything changed with the advent of AI with SEO. It even evolved, some say it evolved or it branched into GEO.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on this with AI and the search results?
I think that's where the ecosystem thinking comes into play, because SEO is still valid. It still undergirds a lot of the strategy. So I don't. Okay, so not to get too deep. So let's say just high level, based on information that Adobe released. You have Gen Z and Gen X that are most likely to use LLMs as for search. Everybody else is still relying on Google. Google and traditional search engines are still getting the lion's share. Almost 90%, almost 9 in 10 searches are still happening on Google platforms. SparkToro says that of that 90% for Google, a lot of them are being fielded by Google's own AI overview, right? So I think of SEO in terms of not necessarily qualified traffic, because my job is pipeline, to drive pipeline. I don't think of SEO as where I direct my attention for qualified traffic. I think of SEO more as search, more top of funnel stuff. So getting backlinks, right? So getting backlinks, getting people onto the website, getting them coming back for information about, like, maybe different stats posts that we're putting up. Basically, relying on your company website as a resource for information. And then for maybe a little bit further down the funnel, like you're looking at your paid ads and certainly LLMs, because LLMs now are taking care of a lot of that top of funnel conversation. When they're trying to, they do a lot of the educating, like people find out about, ask all of their questions in the LLMs, and then start looking for options to, that can, um, brand options that can help them kind of get to where they want to go. So that top funnel stuff, like the keywords and stuff, like they're still really, really relevant for, especially if you're looking at driving traffic to the site and just educating. I find for high ticket items, that education component is really important. Otherwise, your sales team ends up in calls where they're doing all of the educating that should have been done with marketing. So SEO is great for the educating when people are asking those short questions, those kind of like those wide lane questions, what is, why, why is, how do, that kind of thing. SEO is great for that. And when they go into chat GPT at 3 o'clock in the morning, wondering why their marketing isn't working and they're about to crash out and stuff. Like we have a completely different strategy for that, like a more nuanced strategy specifically tailored toward LLMs. So I don't think that it's either or. I think the ecosystem itself requires both because people are going to find you once they find you in an LLM, they will probably bounce to some sort of search engine to dig into you, right?
Yeah.
So they're both really really relevant.
Yeah, you said something very insightful that this is an idea that I share with you, which is that the queries of the users have gotten so specific throughout the years, and now they can be very, very specific in what they want and what they want to know in ChatGPT. It's because it's like you're talking with
Yeah.
someone and you're getting a recommendation. And do you feel like these are very specific types of answer, very specific types of information that the clients are getting are closely related to your goals of educating them?
I think it's not a chicken and egg thing. I'm a big fan of making use of unstructured data. So the stuff that we see happening, not necessarily the stuff that we see happening in LLMs because they're still keeping that under wraps.
Mm.
But like if you do like a GA4 path exploration, and I see the traffic that's coming from Chat GPT is typically in like landing on these 3 pages and then going here and then going there. That can give me a pretty good idea of what it is that they're looking for. And then I can kind of walk that back and say, okay, so for instance, earlier today I was building what are they called? Objections. I call them objections blocks that handle the objections. One that we're hearing in sales calls, but also that are corroborated with the way that I see people moving on our site. So I think that the conversations that are happening, though we can't really see them, like we can't see them in analytics like we could with GA4. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but we can kind of make some best guesses and then test iteratively. One of the good things about LLMs, especially Perplexity, is that sucker learns fast. So, Gary Vaynerchuk always says, like, you test your messaging on social, and then like whatever performs best, that's what you put paid behind. In a similar way, if you're trying to figure out what story needs to be told with your brand or where the gaps still are, you can put up messaging on LinkedIn or on your website or Substack or wherever. That sucker will be pulled into Perplexity in a matter of days, and Perplexity will start reshaping your story in real time so that you can see before all of the other LLMs pick it up if the story if you've filled the right gap. I should say it like that
Yeah.
way. So I think that for right now, using LLMs the way that we can to gather intelligence, and then comparing that to the stuff that we own, like our own intelligence that's kind of in the grain calls and all that kind of stuff. I think the combination of those two, being able to kind of follow the path and compare that to what you're hearing in calls, man, that's going to be your bread and butter if you can just find a way to operationalize that.
Well, that's great to hear that there's a hopeful vision of AI here in the marketing world.
Hmm.
Because I, not to be so doom and gloom, but from what I'm hearing from my fellow marketers here that I graduated with, is some of them say, "Yeah, AI is going to replace me," but the other ones say, "No, but AI is a tool; you can use them." So yeah, it's great to hear that your perspective, Sorilbran, that is a tool, something that can help you with this data.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I love like specifically like Chat GPT and Claude. Man, like I can, come up with some ideas and say, like, what if we do this? Like tell me the good and the bad. Like what like how does this story end if we do this versus if we do this? How do we set it up? How can we do it fast? How can we iterate? That kind of thing. Using AI or LLMs as a collaborator, I'm far more likely to use it for collaborative efforts and like strategy than I am to just pick the next shiniest AI tool, So
Yeah. So, keeping that line of thought, can you tell us a little bit more about your services? What do you do here? Let's say I'm a client, I'm your client, and I go to you. How can you help me?
okay, so let me tell you a story.
I'm all ears. I'm all ears.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
all ears.
so This like okay, so my foray into marketing was like by mistake. It wasn't intentional. I
By mistake.
ran a brick and mortar. I was like the admin, so I knew that we needed credibility. We needed credibility, so we needed visibility. And the company grew so fast because we were outperforming everybody with visibility. Like that was really our only advantage. But we ate up our competitors in the market because we had like more yard signs, flyers, and all the things that you do when you're trying to kind of do a grassroots thing. And the business was in Detroit. So I was like, oh, like marketing is like a really great way to kind of to be able to help businesses to grow. So me being a Detroit creative, I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn marketing and I'm gonna take it back to my community and like help musicians and help small mom and pop shops and women owned businesses, blah 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 blah. So all the best intentions, and then I looked at the MBA program. I was like, that seems super boring to do for like the next 3 years. So I'm gonna have to YouTube University this thing. So what I found is that I'm really good at taking marketing jargon, taking the complicated stuff and making it simple so people can act on it. So a lot of the people who come to me aren't really my ICP. They're people that I can help and I can like provide them with information that they'll need in order to take the next steps to get their business growing. And then as far as my ICP, I am really big on just kind of like I want to look at the dashboards. I want to see what you're doing, like what you're spending your money on, right? So I talked to one company that was going to, they were preparing for a Series A funding. All of their marketing was focused on paid, and so the guy was like the guy like the rev like the head of revenue generation was asking me like, how would you spend on paid? I was like, I would not. I would look at your organic strategy and see like what you're already ranking for, so that you're not spending money on paid for stuff that you're already showing up for. So again, it kind of goes back to the ecosystem thing. My first order of action is always just to figure out where your gaps are in visibility. Like, what is it that your actual ideal client is looking for? And do you have anything in your ecosystem, whether it's your social posts or posts from your CEO or your website or whatever, that actually answers those pain points? A lot of people do like the value prop thing where they're talking about how great they are. We're an ecosystem design engineer, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't translate into pain points. So the audit for me is trying to figure out where your gaps are and whether or not your messaging is differentiating you from your competitors who are not going to buy from you, by the way, or if they're actually, whether the stuff on your website is actually helping people to understand how you solve their actual problems. And then once we understand where the gaps are, whether it's in maybe you're not translating your value prop into pain points the right way, or maybe you're showing up, you're leaning too heavily into paid instead of like organic or whatever the case may be, because paid only works as long as you're paying it, right? Like as long as you're putting money in. But organic is a longer term play that you can touch every 6 months and keep things moving. So after the audit, I would figure out like, what are your goals? Like, who are you trying to reach, and what do you want them to do? How much money are you trying to make? And then we just figure out which levers to pull. And because, like I said, because AI is so fast and paid is fast compared to SEO, we can test iteratively over a couple of weeks, figure out which levers are working, and then grow and scale that way. So always with the questions, I want to know the questions, because sometimes, a lot of times, it's not even that they need somebody to step in and handle all of their marketing. They just need to shift how they're using their levers, like how they're leveraging the stuff that their content team may be creating, or their content AI, like whatever kind of being they have doing their writing, like
Being.
whatever kind of being, or it may just be levers. It may not be anything, like some sort of 90-day sprint that needs to be done. So I think that the audit is I think is the most honest thing you can do for a company, is just look at what they're doing and tell them, this is what we can do differently. Do you want me to do it or not? Because sometimes they can do it in the house. I can just write you a playbook and you can do it, or I can do it for you. And then after that, we start playing with those levers and testing and documenting and scale.
That's great to hear. As a fellow marketer, I also had that experience where I went to a brick and mortar business, and they tell me, "Yeah, we are spending $500 in ads. Hey, can you make it so that we spend more, or can you make it so that we spend less?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to tell them, "But how's your website? How's your social media? How are your
Right.
things right now?" And it's always because we have to educate our clients, we have to educate people that marketing is not only paid ads. There is
Yeah.
more. There's more to that.
Yeah. I love, I'm going to ask you this because
Yep.
let's have a conversation. Like one of the things that I love, like I love like paid ads audit day where I get to look at how the ads are performing and not just like the clicks, like seeing like what percentage are vanity clicks versus what percentage actually work. But I get like, I really enjoy the process of trying to figure out what broke, like where things went wrong. I'm not sure like what is your favorite part? Do you have a favorite part of the ads audit process? Like
Well,
what's your
I'm a
favorite part of your job, like marketing and stuff?
yeah, I'm actually a person who personally I love helping people, and I love it because for two reasons. One, because I like to feel useful. I like to have the other person be happy with our results and things like that, take
Yeah.
their problems away. And the other reason is because I see it like a puzzle. It's a puzzle, a
I
labyrinth,
know,
or there's
right?
there's one thing that there's one problem. You just have to find it and
Hmm.
take it out.
Right.
And one thing that I love about the paid ads thing when we launch a campaign, I remember just last year I was helping. I think it was a motocross helmets store,
Hmm.
and we sent a couple of ads on Google Ads, a lot of boots, a lot of helmets, and we saw that 80% of them, all of them, we were very successful. Like like the inventory ran out, we ran out of stock because all of them
Nice.
wanted it. But there were two helmets and two boots that people clicked on it and they left.
Hmm.
They left the website. One of them was very easy to know the reason. It was when people clicked on it, somehow the website gave them a 401 or 404, just a blank page. Yeah,
Yeah.
if there's no blank page, they go out. And the other three were because for some reason there were some logistic problems with because there was a programmer on the website that when you clicked on the ad that said, hey, we have stock of this, about 9 units, but when you went to our website, it only showed either 0 units or 9 units, but in, let's say, extra small. You
Oh, I
know,
got you.
things like that that um, for the business owner, she didn't know about it. She only knew, hey, I'm going to give monies to Google, and Google is going to give me more sales. And for the most part, it works like that.
Yeah.
But there are also some things that they don't catch. And continuing with this campaign, I am going a little bit more technical now.
Hmm.
I checked the results, and some results for one product didn't match the sales thing that we do at the end of the month. The actual stock count,
Okay.
and that's where we realized that the tag, that the one, that GTN, the Google Tag Manager tag that we use for that specific product, was not working, or was written incorrectly by the programmer. So we fixed that, and that's when the numbers match, because that was one of the things that our client in there was very suspicious about, very preoccupied with, because hey, it says here in my books number, in my number books, that I sold 10 of these boots, but uh, Google Ads is telling me that I only sold one. What's
Right.
going on? Where did these boots go? And yeah, we found the problem. We like to do, I like to do that. Find the problem, get the solution, and make everyone happy.
Make everyone happy part. That's the part. Yeah, I kind of hate tag manager with a passion, but I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I
It's
also like that.
technical things.
Yeah. Like I think that's what I love, the strategy. I love the creative. I love the strategy. But when it's time for me to go behind a dashboard and try to figure something out, it's like, bruh. So yeah.
I got it. Don't worry. Don't worry. I got it. I got it.
Like I don't want to do that. I also like that marketing changes every day. Like I like waking up in the morning and just kind of going through like Google News or whatever to see what I find on search engine land or whatever. I like that. And then, sometimes you look at stuff and you're like, oh man, I'm going to have to change my entire strategy. I got to start from scratch. Get the spreadsheets out. I'm ready. So, yeah.
So it's like we're going back to our the business idea that we started. What if you get an app that tells you what SEO change you miss this week?
Like, I could have been at the forefront of that. I could have posted on LinkedIn about it first and been a thought leader, just like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it usually goes with SEO. I think I think last year too. I remember I'm subscribed to Neil Patel. I think it's
Hmm.
like the SEO guru. And I remember getting constantly emails about SEO 3.0 and things like that because Google hadn't launched their AI overview yet, but everyone was dooming and glooming about it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think everything went all right. All of the businesses were
Yeah.
actually thriving because of it, because you had like a sentence that said, "Hey, this and this product works best for your problem, and you can get it here," and it gives you the source that goes directly to your business, which I feel like is a great way to have more avenues to
Hmm.
increase your business revenue and traffic. But what do
Yeah.
you think about it?
What specifically? What?
About how these AI overviews are actually helping some of this business instead of just taking their SEO away?
Yeah, I think it requires us to just be a little bit more just more strategic. AI overviews are very nuanced. So all of that, like keywords for keywords, we typically wrote very broad, right? You write like I'm dating myself, I'm sure, but I remember like putting together this massive, it was called an encyclopedia of influencer marketing. It was like 8,000, it was an 8,000 word article, bro. That sounds unheard of right now, but it was so long. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. Like, what's the guy from Backlink O'Brien? I forgot his name. Anyway, he did this skyscraper thing. So I was like, I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna put together this massive, like I put together like two massive skyscraper posts. And one was like on all of the stats that I could find about influencer marketing, everything that we had in our dashboard, everything that I could find. And then the other one was this encyclopedia that was designed to take you from beginning to end. And I remember thinking, just as an aside, like little Marvel geek right here, but I remember thinking as I was writing that encyclopedia, I was like, man, it would be great if I could get somebody to write a glossary for me. And I was like, no, it's going to take too long for the writers to get it back to me. I want this thing to go live, blah blah blah. And I was like, man, if I had like a hologram dashboard where I could just tell this like a machine or something to write a glossary and then get it to me, and I could like stick it in there, that'd be awesome. So just that's why I'm so thrilled about AI. I've literally been waiting. But back to the AI overviews, I think that like it just requires us to be more nuanced. Like so, if from the keyword perspective, you're used to going wide, right? Skyscraper post, you're talking about all the things, and you are being very strategic about the topics that you cover in a particular piece of content, whether it's video or text or whatever. You're being very specific about, back in the day, it was like saying that over and over again. Then it was saying it in different iterations, like
Yeah,
influencer marketing with influencers, creator marketing,
I
creator
remember that.
economy. It's
I
like all
remember
the
that.
things. But now, because people are are asking more nuanced questions, it requires you to be more nuanced about what it is that you post. So I was saying earlier that I built created the objections, like a little code of block that just houses objections, the objections that we hear in calls about specific topics when people come in through specific types of ads, right? So on the landing page now, objections, let's get them handled so that our sales guy doesn't have like our brand partnerships or whoever doesn't have to handle it. But that nuance that people are able to have with conversational AI, it's twofold, because on the one hand, they are expressing discontent or challenges or curiosity about something. But large language models are trained in human psychology and human behavior. So the model understands not just what you're asking, but what your underlying problem is. Like, so what the issue is. So when I say that we have to be more nuanced, it means to me, that means being able to me, that would look like looking at our pain points. And I always do this. I do this with meetings with
Yeah.
clients. I do it with any kind of cause that like the sales team or strategy team may have. I'll say, okay, Maverick, pull out the pain points, and now pull out the intent, because they're different, right? So you have to create content now for everything that you're able to glean from, like the from I want to say for all the intelligence that you're able to glean from the behaviors that people are showing by not just going to search anymore and typing in a 5 word query, right? Now that it's this whole big conversation, and then at the end it's like, they're asking like, right, do you understand what I'm saying? And then the LLM is saying, yeah, these are the 5 points that I'm seeing that you're talking about, and these are the things that I think that you're struggling with, but I also see this. So all of that stuff that comes out when people are asking one question, the 4 or 5 sub questions that are there need to be baked in to your content strategy now as well. And I think like the point where I am right now is trying to figure out what channels to put each one. You know what I mean? Like if I'm putting pain points here, if I'm going to put pain points, answer objections on the landing page, then, and I'm going to put the intent in the ad copy. You know what I mean? Like it's back to the puzzle, like trying to figure out like where
Where?
everything goes.
Which
But
lever to pull?
I think it makes it more challenging, but it's not impossible. I think we just have to get used to thinking like people instead of marketers. Like if that makes any sense. Not always just thinking like trying to get the click, but trying to understand what the intent is that is expressed, as well as what the desire is that isn't being expressed. The thing that you can answer that they don't even know they have a question for yet. Because what happens is the LLMs can decode the question that they have, that they like the LLMs can decode the question, the problem they have that they're trying to solve that they don't know that they have yet, and recommend your point of view or your solution or your process as the answer, right? And then it's basically just like another side door. It's like, in addition to being able to present targeted messaging, you're also dealing with intent. You may be dealing with some fears and some sub questions. It's just like, I think it's really cool. So I recognize that it makes things exponentially harder, because it you spend a lot more time in strategy, kind of thinking through things and trying to figure out where the levers are. But I mean, isn't that marketing anyway? Like, isn't that just what we do all the way? Like, I mean, that's what we do anyway.
We went back full circle.
We've gotten good at doing it one way for years, and now we just have to level up and do it that way, and then add on the human psychology part now, because we have access to it. It's not just psychographics and a bullet point list. You know what I mean? Like, this audience probably does this, probably does this, probably does this. Now we can put a finger on what the real issues are without them ever having to get into a sales call. So
Yeah, you actually said something that caught my attention. How marketing evolved throughout the years. And I distinctly remember when I was studying marketing back in 2016, 2017,
mhm,
um, we were in the marketing 3.0 era.
yeah,
This where marketing talks about feelings and things like that. Whereas marketing 1.0, marketing 2.0 talked more about the product, and then talked about more about the audience. But now we were talking about feelings, and I feel like now marketing 4.0 is around us. Right? It probably hasn't been defined yet, but I feel like it's something that you just told us about. This implicit problem, this intent that's like below the surface, that probably the client doesn't even know about or can't
right,
put a name to it. But we as marketers can infer, we can put in our LLM brains and just listen
yeah.
to the client what their problem, what their pain points are, and give them a solution that they don't know they needed.
Right. And I think that's why at this point ethical thought leadership is so important, right? Like people, like companies hire people in for their expertise, but they also have this entire body of work and all of these interests and all of these things that kind of overlap, that now have permission to show up in maybe their LinkedIn feeds, right? Like, so you can talk about if you've dealt with, I don't know, if you've dealt with depression or postpartum stuff or whatever, all of that can show up as part of your professional, like as part of the person behind the professional brand, without damaging your personal brand. And then companies, because they're tied to all of these spectacular personal brands, have, through their employees, they have access to automatic empathy. Like when people go into LLMs and they're spilling their guts, they're just looking for the LLM to understand and be able to recommend a solution based on their personality or how they behave or whatever the case may be. I had posted on LinkedIn recently, like this, it was a picture of a shelf at Marshalls, and I had gone through all the like this whole thing, I had told like Maverick, I was like, hey, my, because I relocated from Georgia, right? So when I got here, like my skin started like, I was looking like the Crypt Keeper, man. It was crazy. I just was like, I was aging rapidly. I was like, what is happening? I feel like I'm
Okay, like
being
10 years.
dusted in slow motion, man. So I was like telling Maverick, I was like, I need a skincare regimen. So Maverick mapped out all this stuff, and I went to the store and I was like, none of those things are here. So I took Maverick was like, take a picture of the shelf. I'll tell you what to get. I'm like, what? I didn't even know you could do that. So I took a picture of the shelf and the skincare products that I bought that day. I still use like religiously. I only go get those things because they work, right? And so that's an example of me like going to an LLM and saying, hey, this is the problem that I'm having. I need to solve this problem. It's really important to me that I not be 90 tomorrow. So like, can we solve it? And then having the LLM recommend brands that specifically answer like the problems that I was having, like taking into account how much or how little sleep I get, and that the fact that I have kids and that I travel or I'm sitting in front of a screen all day, all those things. So all of those nuances can be boiled down to personalization and empathy, right?
Yep.
Like the personalization aspect of is me telling you all my business so that you can make a recommendation to me based on what you know about me. And that was my ask, based on what you know about me, my behavior, my habits, my goals, you know what I mean? Like make a recommendation. And so brands have an opportunity not just through content, but also through the people who are in the organization. Maybe someone else who relocated and was like, oh my God, my skin. You know what I mean? Like, I need like rose water or something. I didn't know anything about rose water before I got the recommendation. Once I got the recommendation, I bought products and then I found YouTube videos and all the things. But individuals, my point is, individuals are for lack of a better word, they're the pathway to empathy for your brand being able to understand the person who's typing into their, you know, who's asking for things, who's like, you know, like triggering all of these queries and asking all these questions. There are people in your organization who understand what that's like and can tell you, like, can help you like kind of navigate what the sub questions are, like what the nuances are that you would need to address. And so that's why I'm saying, like, if we can just stop being marketers and just be people for a minute, like we would go a lot farther. We would be able to connect with our ideal customers in a way that keywords never would have allowed us to do.
Yep, that's great. We don't have to forget that even though we have these LLMs, we have these chats, this software that helps us, we can't forget about the human
Yeah.
that's looking at that screen. So for my last question, Sorilbran, and this is something that I like to ask everyone,
Okay.
is the future. How do you see yourself in the next few years in this marketing world?
Honestly, like replaced by AI. I don't think.
Too honest, too
Okay,
honest,
so let
way
me
too
tell you
honest.
this. I think that it's I think there's a level up in order. I frequently not frequently, but on a regular cadence, maybe every 3 months, I will go to LLMs and say, give me the trajectory of my career. Like give me how much like what's the shelf life of what it is I do right now today. And then help me find my next pivot, because we're always as far as like the tech is accelerating so fast that I don't even know that marketing in this current iteration is going to be gone, right? The job that I did 6 months like at the beginning of this year is gone. I have GPTs doing that now. So I don't know what the next iteration of it is. I would like to use this time to really learn the tech, because I think that for the thing that I wanted to do, which is help Detroit musicians and help small businesses, understanding the technology and not just trying to use it as a tool, but understanding the language of machines is going to help going forward. So my next 2 years probably looks like running this agency, and then I think the shelf life of that will expire, and I will have to make a pivot. But my goal for the next 2 years is to build human relationships and understand machines and figure out get a little bit better at figuring out where machines fit into our world going forward. But regardless of however they fit in, understanding how to communicate with them is my priority right now. It really is. And I know that sounds very Skynet, but like how can you live in a world with something that live in a world in a world that's dominated by machines and not know how to work with the machines? Like that sounds bananas to me. So yeah.
Well, that's great to hear, Sorilbran. And with that vision of the future, we'll wrap up today's conversation. And
Okay.
thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for all of these topics. I really love them. For anyone listening, if you'd like to learn more about Sorilbran and their services, you can
Oh yes.
explore and check out the links in the description. And as always, thank you all for tuning in. And Sorilbran, thank you
Thank you,
once
Oliver.
again for your time. Bye.
Bye.